So what should be the judiciary's response to the latest missive from the centre on the collegium system of appointing judges? Joining me now is one of our distinguished former Supreme Court judges, Justice Madan Lokur joins me. Appreciate your joining us, Justice. How do you see what Kiran Rijiju, the Law Minister, has done in writing officially to the Chief Justice, suggesting that a government representative be included as part of the collegium system for selecting Supreme Court and High Court judges?
Yeah, thank you, Rajdeep. You see, it's like this. The contents of the letter are not in the public domain. At least I'm not aware of the contents of the letter. There just seems to be, a suggestion that a representative of the government should be in the collegium, right?
Yes.
Now, in the collegium means what? As a part of the collegium, as somebody who takes a decision. So if 5 judges in the collegium or 3 judges in the collegium say yes, is this person entitled to say no? Or is he just there, to watch the proceedings? I don't know. And, what is the role of that person going to be? Because everything that the, government wants to say, or the Department of Justice wants to say, is already there with the Supreme Court. So what is that person going to do? I mean, is he just going to carry the file and give it to the Supreme Court and say, well, here's the file, take it? What is the role of that person? It's not very clear.
It seems at the moment, as you're right, that we don't know exactly how the government sees the role of this representative, but it seems that the government wants a say. They believe that the system cannot be as opaque and non-transparent as it is, and in fact the Constitution Bench itself during the NJC judgment had made it very clear that there should be some reform in the Memorandum of Procedure. So as a first step, the government must have a say. It doesn't mean a veto, but it means a say.
Well, the government already has a say. The file comes from the government. So the government has a say, the Chief Minister of the state has a say, the Governor of the state has a say. So there's no question about it. The government does have a say. So what more of a say does it want? And the say that the government has is even post the decision of the or the recommendation of the collegium, because then the government says, well, we're not going to appoint this guy, or we are going to, sit over the file and take our own sweet time and let that person wait for another year or 2 years. They've done that. So what is the greater say that they want? That is one.
Yes.
Secondly, in the NJC judgment, at the end of it, we did say, the Supreme Court did say that, invite suggestions. And if I remember correctly, something like 11,000 plus suggestions were given, right, from the general public. There was, a request for an extension of time to make suggestions. That was also given. The government was asked, the government said, in fact, they said that, listen, the Memorandum of Procedure has to be drafted by us. In the past, it was drafted by the government, and this time also it is going to be drafted by the government. It can't be drafted by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, yes, okay, fine. Draft the Memorandum of Procedure. The government just sent the same 1999 Memorandum of Procedure back. They didn't do anything. What transparency are they talking about? What has happened to all those suggestions?
No, the transparency, Justice, is the idea that you don't have any other country where judges appoint their own without any, according to the government of the day, any oversight, the necessary oversight. They are appointing their own. The government believes that must change. Do you believe that the collegium system must be reformed or not?
There must be some changes. But tell me, is there any country in the world where the government says that we are not going to appoint a judge for 2 years or 5 years? Is there any country in the world? I mean, what is this? India is the only country which does this. Yeah, all right. Government of India is also the only government which does what it's doing. So really, I mean, there's no point in,
No, so
back
you're,
and forth kind of
so
thing.
what you're saying is that the government in a way is already exercising some kind of veto power over judges. Several judges' appointments have been held up, and therefore the government doesn't have the moral right today to, in a way, admonish the judiciary. The government also needs to look within.
Absolutely. In fact, in my view, the government is far more opaque than the collegium.
Mhm.
We don't know any reason why somebody has had to wait for 3 years or 4 years. Everybody's just speculating. Why is this person's appointment not come through? Why has this person, being asked to wait? Why is it that some person has been, the appointment has been cleared within 2 days and somebody not cleared for 2 years?
But is this, is this,
That is opacity.
but is this a turf war at the end of the day? Are you fearing now that what we are seeing is the beginning of a turf war? That the government in its own way is slowly but surely trying to browbeat the judiciary to fall in line by establishing its supremacy even over the appointment. Is that the fear that judges have?
Well, I don't know about the fear that the judges have. I don't have any fear that the government is doing this. I am convinced that the government is wanting to appoint judges of their own choice.
You mean virtually sidestep the judiciary? Is that what you're saying? Your fear is that the
Well,
entire system, they want to change the entire system. That they can do by going to parliament and bringing in a new legislation.
well, I don't think so. It depends upon the sort of amendment or the legislation that they want. Because if it is going to compromise the independence of the judiciary will strike it down. Because the independence of the judiciary is a basic feature of the Constitution of India.
Mhm.
You can't compromise the independence of the judiciary.
No,
So there's no way they can do it without it being struck down.
but it's interesting you're saying that because you will recall that only last week the vice president of the country, no less, questioned the very basis of the basic structure doctrine of the constitution, suggested that the primacy exists with parliament. Parliament can decide on all these contentious issues. So it almost seems at the moment that there is a concerted view within the government that uh, things have to change, that you cannot have the existing collegium system and the government will assert its primacy.
Well, it depends. I mean, if can Parliament abolish all our fundamental rights? Is that what is being said? That Parliament has the power to amend the Constitution in whatever manner it likes? Basic structure is wrong, so from tomorrow there will be no freedom of the press.
Mhm.
There will be no freedom of speech. There will be no freedom to, protest. If the Parliament can do that,
Mhm.
well, you know where we are going.
So what would be your advice to the government at this moment, given the fact, and the judiciary? What would be, should they both back off and try and strike some kind of a dialogue, not in public gaze where you have the law minister on a regular basis almost targeting the judiciary? Can this be done behind closed doors?
It should be. I mean, you see, in the last couple of weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, the government has been taking pot shots at the judiciary, right?
Mhm.
Why? I mean, the Supreme Court is a constitutional body.
Mhm.
Why can't the government talk to the Supreme Court and say that, listen, we'd like to discuss a few things.
Mhm.
The Supreme Court has never said that, listen, I'm not going to talk to you. You stay where you are, I'm going to stay where I am.
Mhm.
In fact, the Supreme Court said, like I said in the NJC judgment,
Mhm.
the Supreme Court invited suggestions from the public. So the Supreme Court is always open to, discussion.
Mhm.
That's how the system works in India. I mean, you go to court and say whatever you want. You argue your case.
So, so in
Nobody has stopped the government from doing that.
So in conclusion, what you're saying is you don't think that the judiciary is averse to changes in the existing collegium system, but it will have to be done by a spirit of consensus, not by one side browbeating the other. Am I correct?
Yes, this is what my impression is. I can't say for sure, but
Mhm.
my impression is that the collegium system, the Supreme Court is willing to have a look at it. It was willing to have a look at it when it gave the NJC judgment.
Mhm.
I don't see why it should not be willing to have a look at it now. Bring about some changes. It requires tweaking.
Mhm.
It requires tweaking on the side of the government also. Is the government open to making changes? Let's find that out first.
Do you therefore see, unfortunately, this confrontation widening, and what will be the implications in a sense for our constitutional democracy if the government is seen to be browbeating the judiciary?
Well, it's not good news, if the government continues to take pot shots.
Mhm.
The government, I think, is a responsible government. They should know, or at least the persons who are in charge should know, that you can't take pot shots at the judiciary. Don't do it. I mean, what are you doing it for? If you want your own people, well, say so. I want my own people. I'm not going to let independent judges, survive in this country.
So you believe that what is happening will compromise the independence of the judiciary. You fear that this is part of a concerted attempt eventually to compromise the independence of the judiciary.
I think so. I think they're trying to have a committed judiciary, something which Mrs. Indira Gandhi had tried. I think they're trying to do that. I hope they don't succeed.
And what
Mrs.
should
Indira Gandhi did not. I hope the present government doesn't succeed either.
And what should the judges do? What would be your advice to the judges led by Chief Justice Chandrachud? How should they respond?
I don't know. I can't say, but the appropriate thing would be to call, at least a meeting of the collegium, if not the full court, and take them into confidence and say that, well, what's going on? I mean, everybody would like to know. The whole country wants to know. So I'm sure the Supreme Court judges also want to know what's going on.
On that note, Justice Lokur, for doing plain speaking on this contentious issue, appreciate your joining us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rajdeep.